So if I were to be just getting into archery, like many of you out there are, and knew what I know about the sport of archery and specifically about equipment in archery, what would I spend my money on? What would I purchase once that I would never have to purchase again for the rest of my archery career or the rest of my archery experience? So in this video, I'm going to give you a few things that you should absolutely spend the money on that is worth it, so that way you won't ever have to spend money on that piece of equipment again or have to rebuy it later on down the road. I'll also give you a few things that you should absolutely save for or absolutely buy the budget end of the spectrum, because those things are going to change over time for you and ultimately you may wear them out or outgrow them. For those of you that are new here, my name is Kaminski. I'm a two-time Olympic silver medalist in the sport of archery, and we're going to make this channel a great resource to all types of archery. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscription button and the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video is uploaded. I'd appreciate it. So this video comes by request from one of my Patreon members. I genuinely appreciate all their support as well as their content suggestions, because sometimes I miss things and really don't have a good thumb on the pulse of the archery community. So I really appreciate that type of feedback. But if you're interested in supporting my channel, I'll put a link in the description below to my website where you can find places that you could send stuff to in a P.O. box. Support me through Patreon as well as a couple other different ways, and I also have YouTube memberships. So if you're interested in that and unlocking a few exclusive benefits, there will be links in the description below to my website. Plus, I will put a card at the top here where you can find YouTube memberships. There should be a join button down below somewhere below this video as well. But anyway, let's get into it. I want to talk about equipment and what I would buy if I knew what I know now about equipment in archery. What would I purchase if I was brand new? So there are definitely a few things that I would not spend my money on, which we will definitely cover more in depth as this video progresses, but things that I absolutely would spend money on once and never have to ever again. Definitely a quality plunger. Do not skimp on the plunger, because if you're going to be shooting recurve style archery or barebow style archery, you're going to need a really good quality plunger anyway. And the good quality ones have replaceable equipment like replaceable plunger stems, rebuildable springs, lots of different options, and they don't fall apart over time. And they're actually a lot more gentle on your equipment, including your arrows, like this AAE Gold Micro Adjustable Plunger that I use here. It does not wear out your arrows like many of the other top-of-the-line plungers. It is still affordable, and it's definitely something I would spend some money on. Now, this retails somewhere in the neighborhood of 120 bucks, give or take, depending on where you're from. It is a lot of money when you're first starting, but it's definitely something that will last you forever if you take care of it. Another thing that I absolutely would spend money on is a really good quality adjustable V-bar bracket. Now, when people are just getting into recurve style archery, Olympic recurve style archery, they may grab some of the budget-minded V-bar brackets or unadjustable, non-adjustable V-bar brackets. They are cheaper. The adjustable ones will work for quite some time, but if you're a gear nut like I am, you're going to want to tinker with your stuff. So if you do, get yourself a good quality double adjustable V-bar bracket like this AAE gripper here. You'll never have to buy another one again. There's really no teeth in here to shear off and break. What I mean by that is most V-bar brackets that are adjustable have teeth that intermesh like this, and you will loosen up the bracket and click it to the next thing to adjust the angle of the V-bars. Now, that seems like a really good idea in principle, but accidents happen. People drop their bows, people don't tighten them down tight enough, and the teeth shear off, and then it becomes useless because it just will flop all over the place. This is a totally different design that uses a cone and a receiving cone, and as you tighten them down, they grip onto each other. You have an infinite range of adjustment, and it is something that is absolutely worth it. Another thing I would absolutely not skimp on is your quiver. Now, that might be a little weird for some people to think about, but I can tell you that a great quality quiver is worth it. It will last you forever. You know, you really can't go wrong with either one of these. This is a Bateman Quiver that Bubba Bateman makes. It's handmade out of leather, and it's going to last forever because it's heavy-duty leather. The stitching is amazing. It uses super good quality zippers. It's something that is worth it, you know, and you can get them custom for you if you would like that. But even something like this Easton quiver is a great quiver. It has a lot of things going for it that actually are really nice. Individual arrow tubes. I prefer the field style quiver where the arrows come back. It's easier to walk around at a tournament. You don't stab people with your arrows on the line as you're taking them out of your quiver. It's just a lot better. I like that for tournament type stuff, but if you think you might do some field archery shooting or 3D shooting or something like that, I like this push, the push quiver here. I don't know the name of the quiver, the model of the quiver, but the push quiver is amazing. It has a couple of individual pockets here. It's nice and tight. It's made out of heavy duty cloth, probably like ripstop nylon. It has a gigantic pocket. It has many, many places that you can attach things, and it's just, I love it. I love shooting field archery in it because I can take tons of equipment with me, snacks. I can throw my thermocell in here or something like that and keep away a bunch of bugs too. This is definitely something I would spend some money on. A really good quality quiver will go a very, very long way and will last you a very, very long time. This type of quiver as a beginner, I mean, number one, it screams beginner, but number two, they're basic. They fall apart. There's no storage. You can't even put a pencil in here. So when you start scoring, where are you going to put it? Let alone where you're going to put your finger tab in between ends, things like that. Quality quiver, really can't beat it. Now, if you're really brand new in archery, I wouldn't necessarily spend money on things like a sight, a quality sight, or a sight bar. And I wouldn't necessarily spend a ton of money on a finger tab because you'll wear those out over time. You're going to still want to tinker and play and feel what you really like. And, you know, having a $300 sight on a $50 bow is kind of counterintuitive. So you don't necessarily need that top quality sight. That is something that will absolutely last you for forever. So if you have the means, buy the best sight you can afford, especially those top of the line name brand sights. They will just last you forever. Again, replaceable parts, good quality customer service, and it's something that will last you forever. Things that I wouldn't spend a ton of money on. If you're brand new, having a type of bow like this or a cheap aluminum riser, you really don't need fancy, expensive limbs. You don't really need a super fancy, expensive riser. I would absolutely, if I was considering getting into the sport of archery and going to be staying in it for a while, I'd get an ILF riser, an International Limb Fit riser. That means you can snap limbs from any company into that riser that makes ILF limbs, and you can use them. So you can buy secondhand limbs, you can buy limbs from different companies, you can try different things and really just have the ability to snap different limbs in and out of your bow. It's really, really pretty much the only way to go in my opinion, especially if you're getting into the sport. Unless you find a really good secondhand riser, I would really just stick with that ILF setup. Other things that you can save your money on are definitely arrows. You don't need to buy quality top of the line arrows when you're just starting. In fact, you definitely don't want to. Arrows can be expensive. They can be 50 bucks a piece on the high end, or they could be a couple bucks on the low end. So definitely spending on that low end for the first few arrows, sets of arrows that you buy is important because you're going to break them, you're going to lose them, you're going to bend them, you're going to abuse them. You're not going to get used to it. I've seen some people who are brand new slam their arrows in their car door and break all of them. Literally all of them after they just bought them because they're not used to carrying a quiver with arrows hanging out of them. So, you know, it's just, it happens. It's one of those things, and it would be a tragedy if that was a brand new set of X10s that cost over 500 bucks. Some other things that you can buy, keeping in mind that equipment can last if you take good care of it, is a good quality case. You know, a good solid SKB case that's a hard case will last you for forever. You know, even a good quality zip-up case like an Easton or an Aurora or a Legend case, something like that, is really going to outlast your equipment if you take care of it. Unless you start traveling and flying on airplanes, then it'll take some abuse, but that's going to take the abuse and your equipment won't. A good quality arrow tube to store your equipment in, store your arrows in, is definitely a good thing to buy. Some of those other types of accessories, like maybe a good quality set of Allen wrenches, a good multiplier toolkit, places to store your equipment in bins and things like that to keep things organized at home. Super, super valuable, super important. And it'll overall just make your archery experience a bit more enjoyable. You'll have a lot less time trying to find stuff, a lot less time breaking stuff, and a lot less time accidentally losing stuff if you have a place to put it all. Again, a quiver. You can put a lot of stuff in a quiver if you buy a good quality one. Now, as far as anything else goes, you know, you can experiment and play with some different sight pins. You can experiment and play with different vanes and nocks and all sorts of things like that. But overall, a great plunger, a good quality adjustable V-bar bracket, a great quiver, good tools, including a bow square, are definitely where I would start. Save your money on risers and limbs. Get a good quality used riser if you can, or a budget-minded ILF riser, and buy limbs secondhand if you can. If not, stick with the cheapest ones you can, because you're going to get stronger. You're going to buy different limbs that you want, a different size, a different whatever, or you're going to grow, and you're going to need different equipment as you're growing anyway. So saving your money on those things are definitely worth it, and spending money on the other things that I just mentioned are definitely recommended from the experience and the knowledge that I have now, because I went through probably dozens of plungers over the years until I got to a good quality plunger. I used a biter for about 10 years and then switched to this AE Gold after I worked with them to design it, and I can't replace it. You know, those type of things you just can't. It's better than anything else out there, and you can really clean and take it apart, and you can adjust and take care of those top quality pieces that I said for years and years and years to come. And those are definitely things that are worth spending money on. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, consider hitting the subscription button and the notification bell, as well as the like button. I would appreciate it. Also, please consider supporting my channel. If you head to my website, jakekaminski.com, there'll be info and links on Patreon, apparel, books, and equipment sales, PayPal donate button, a P.O. box to send things to, and above all else, please share this video, because there's no better advertising than word of mouth.